I really was blown away. Now, I know Garvin Tynes has a standard of doing this kind of ceremonial presentation, but this exceeded my expectation. And let's give a round of applause to the principal and her committee. Truly exceeded my expectation. In a brief recap, as Apostle was speaking earlier, as a boy about 8 or 9, there was a pledge I made to God. I thought I was just trifling then, but it happened in my lifetime. I told God that 2 things I want to do while I'm alive. That's to teach, and after that to preach.
Amen.
So I figured if you want to do God's will, teach the children, you end up preaching to them.
Yes.
And then preach to the adults, you end up teaching them.
Yes.
So my request was fulfilled.
Yes. And
God has given me that opportunity. I started out in school, and my friend Daniel Davis is here with me, my colleague. We've come through the trenches together.
Wow.
I went ahead and he was right behind. From the school, the COB, went off to the various islands and taught. He is now at headquarters. I stayed in the school because I found that the children are the joy and the source of life. You want to do something, you want to enjoy doing something, you find yourself among some children. And I found that to be the source that kept me over these years. And so in October of 1967, being one of the brightest students, I was called out to be a monitor because there were some teachers who had to leave the scene, and I got right in there. About 2 years later, I joined the public service, and January 6th, in another 2 months or so, will complete 49 years. So it's actually 48 years and 10 months thereabout I've been in the public service. But actual teaching experience, October gone made 50 years. But through those years, I've been to Uriah for 5 years. After leaving Wars Island, I went to C.W. Sawyer, spent 13 years there. And I thought C.W. Sawyer was the creme de la creme. When we were assigned to start this school, it was called Alexandria Primary. They called us the 3 rookies, Mrs. Vanessa Coakley, Becca May Stubbs, and myself, a senior master. We've not had administrative experience before, but our superintendent trusted in us. And so we had no school, we had no building. At that point in August of 1998, we had to go to Gerald Cash, where we worked from there. And I think I see Miss Miller. She is still one of the founding staff members. And I don't know who else is here, but several of them started with us and are still here today. They built the school in about 5-6 months. So in January 99, we came inside. We got this front block and that middle block. And Apostle, that was my first experience teaching grade 1.
Wow.
Here was this big man, got to teach some 5-year-olds. I loved the opportunity, but my struggle was the language.
Right.
I said, Lord, help me. I'm trying to think of them as older children.
Right.
Because we didn't have enough teachers to cover, so administrators went in the class. Right down there, and that block was grade 1. So we worked through that. And I mean, at the end of 99, when we came into 2000, they expanded, they added the back block, and so we were able to take in a full complement of students from grade 1 through grade 6. And that's when my drill and my command and my service kicked in. We got some labels in the first year or 2, but by the 3rd year, we were taking on a name as the government's primary school. Academics started to kick in. And Ms. Curry, the science teacher, can vouch for that because her science program was top-notch almost year after year when it comes to science talk, science exhibitions, and other things like that. And so we rolled into this culture after the official opening in 2000, and there were the persons hearing about the news of this school. We had students coming to us from Elizabeth Estates. I want my child to go there. I said, Ma'am, you passing 10, 20 other schools on your way here. We had a student coming all the way from Hospital Lane. Parents heard about the school. Every time the child got here, it was like 10 o'clock. 3 buses to get here. I said, Ma'am, you know, your boy is missing too many classes by the time he gets here, but I want him here. And so that's the reputation. And when I saw what happened this morning, the legacy continues. The name, the reputation, the work with the children, and the ultimate success, it is still a very high standard. And I know since Ms. Mitchell came here, I always see her as a risk taker. In other words, she dared to do things that ordinary administrators wouldn't do. And I want to commend her for that. We saw that when she put on a celebration, yes, I'm highlighting the Chinese in New Year. I thought that was risky. Yeah, the kind of protocol that you have to go through, but it was phenomenal. And so to you teachers, the police band, that selection, I hadn't danced in years. Hadn't danced in years. And many of my former students are police officers, some are the Defense Force. I see them every now and then when I go into business sector, many of them in the banks. And as you said, 2, 3 generations of students. I have one of my friends, Miss Stubbs. Is she still here? Chantel Stubbs. Stand up. That's one of my students from Stephen Dillard. Sorry, Uriah McPhee. Wow. And I've taught 2 of her children right here at this school. They've graduated and gone all already. And so that's part of the legacy of persons who I've had the privilege to work with. And I want to say to you teachers here, everything may not be cozy from day to day, but it has to come from within. And I always say, these students are a source to my daily pleasure. And this is why. Children will get you angry, but that anger doesn't last very long. It ain't like older folks. They get angry with you. A year go by, they still angry. 2 years, 5 years, they still angry. 10 years, they still angry. Children, the anger just for a short moment. And one of my practice was when I walked in a classroom, if there were 2 or 3 children out of order, I stood still. Didn't say a word. And I just need to look at one face. Your sausage nose. And that changed the whole atmosphere. It brought order, but yet there was cheer. And so they happen to know me with 2 particular words. One is chocolate, and the other is sausage nose. Now I shared this bit before. He said, I came out one morning, as I normally do, surveying the corridors, checking down. And as I stepped out, straightened myself, I heard a voice down the same corridor. It must have been far down the back. I know there were at least 2 boys, could have been more. One of the boys shouted, when they saw me coming around here, Mr. Green coming, and he got chocolate. So I stepped out to see if I saw who it was. I couldn't see because at some point they must have dashed through the corridor. But that told me something. Yeah. The discipline, the behavior that we were trying to instill in the children, whenever they saw you, they came to order. Because they knew that's what you were all about. And so when I'm at that gate, the minute those children step out the car, they look at me. If something ain't right, mommy, you know. And that's what we were sharing and drilling in these children. So when they leave us and go out in the public, we had no fear that they will represent us with style and standard. And so I'm pleased to see that this is still going on here. From the preschool up to the grade 5 and 6, you've done well. I tell you, this ceremony is really a capsule to my whole years of coming together. And so I highly appreciate this. I do want to thank you, administrators, staff members, and students, for bringing me back to celebrate my time here. 13 years at C.W. Sawyer, 17 years, the most joyful years in my whole career, right here at this school. And they're still the highlights of my career. I want to thank you again. God bless you, strengthen you, keep you going. And to my family, my wife and children, they are always the source that keeps me. I tell you, when my wife gets me angry, I go to my children. No problem, everything cool.
Yeah.
Now it's the grandchildren. When they see you, you got to stand strong because they just jump on you now. And so that's my inspiration. And I thank God for them. And Apostle, I have not had to lay one hand on not one of them.
Wow.
Not one. There was one I had to spank. He is in Abaco. He's doing the training over there, the cadet program. He's a Marine officer. He wanted to come, but he couldn't get away. And he tried to play a little fresh, around 13 or 14, and I had to give him some daddy experience. And that was the first and last time. But they know, they saw me and they knew what I stood for. And I had to say one word. My wife will say 10, 15, 20 times. I can kill you, I can knock you out, I can chop your head off. They don't check. Daddy says it one time. I say, that's all you gotta say. I said, one time. Stop promising what you're gonna do when you know you ain't gonna do it. You gonna chop the child head off, knock the child out. But she was trying to get. And so that's how we operate. And so I thank God for them. Again, Miss Mitchell, thank you so much. This has really been a blessing to me. Thank you so much, everyone. God bless you.